Periodic chart has atom. That is hydrogen atom as number one. That is again proton, positive charge, and neutron, which is no charge, and electron, which is negative charge.
Yeah, Gagutian. I'm a Gagutian, huh? Gagutian. I'm a Gagutian, huh? Ooh, I'm a Gagutian. Yo, Minister God's almighty grand unified. Yeah, everything is God, even you and I. This Babylon lifestyle just a suicide. A suicide. They don't want us all to unify and realize all the energy that's deep inside. To utilize, they colonize our deepest minds. See all the lies that coincide. School of food, radio and the news. Politics and the president just be making the rules. Turn around and just break them. Praying all white Jesus. Man, you've been forsaken. Yeah, freedom is taken. It don't come with no vote. Put you right in some chains, carried you off to the boat. Minister God's almighty grand unified. Yeah, everything is God, even you and I. This Babylon lifestyle just a suicide. A suicide. They don't want us all to unify. Bruh.
What God has done.
Yeah. What's poppin', man?
Put up a
peace and love. Gagged
explain
greetings to everybody. You don't understand, that's fine. We're going to find out together. We're going to learn together.
Process,
you know what I'm saying? This is a Gagutical age. This is the age of Aquarius, the age of enlightenment, Afro-Crozian. I'm explaining all of this.
What
don't even worry about
this
it.
Is number one.
Don't even worry. Yeah, nothing is stopping this. Riemann hypothesis. Whatever challenges, when is the option? It's the God order. Yep, infallible truth. Heal your mind, body, and soul. Take over the youth. Watch these Gagutian bars take over the booth. Got the sun, moon, and stars. It's really the roof. Not a theory, but a theorem. Yeah, it's really the truth. Jim Crow is dead. Cut his head off for proof. Rolling with the Trinity. Avis of infinity. Got my polymorphisms, DNA, my memory. Riding with the top down, head off infinity. Black. Top down, head off. Yo, Minister God's almighty grand unified. Yeah, everything is God, even you and I. This Babylon lifestyle just a suicide. A suicide. They don't want us all to unify. Bruh.
This, therefore, is the model of history.
We're about to build real quick. We're going to decode what you think reality is. What we've all been taught to think reality is. We're about to break it down real simple and plain. You know what I'm saying? I want to give a shout out to the OFABIT Institute, Ground Zero for Intelligence, the only real university in the universe that gives us our Gagutical Constitution, our rebirth from 3/5 to 5/3. And we're going to use that intelligence. We're going to use that intelligence, the supreme mathematics, to break down and decode everything. Because Gaga is the grand unified theorem. It encompasses all the mathematics. It's the holy grail of mathematics. The theory of everything. And he said you couldn't know everything. It's impossible. Yeah, right. We're going to break that down and see who told you that. And I'm going to tell you who told me this. You see what I'm saying? Alright, let's get it. Yeah. Gagutian. I'm a Gagutian, huh? Gagutian. Yo, shout out to my brother Zion. Made this beat for me, man. This joint was crazy. Alright, this joint was crazy. Alright, so let's go in. So, I just want to put the question out there first. And I want to see your comments. I want to see, I want to get a feel for what level of intelligence we have in the room right now. And it's not to say that, you know, somebody's less intelligent. We're just talking about what contents you have, like what have you, you know, obtained in this reference. So we're talking about the Bible, right? And there's sources that say, very creditable sources, authoritative sources that will say that the Bible is not a history book. More specifically, the book of Genesis. The first 12 chapters of Genesis are not historical. If I told you that, I could show you a very creditable source that says that. What would you say to me? Would you say, oh, they tripping? Although the United States is, well, they believe, they lead us to believe that this is a Christian country, right? Right? Is Babylon in the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn? Also, see, you got to get deeper. You got to get deeper. It's deeper than that. You know what I'm saying? Babylon also exists right here. So you can move anywhere you want. If you didn't get Babylon out of here, you're going to take that same mentality with you. Babylon is everywhere. You see what I'm saying? Babylon is here. See what I mean? So, yeah, there's sources that say it's not a history book. More specifically, those stories like Noah's Ark is not historical. It didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? An old man, 600 plus years old, didn't build a boat the size of New York, put all these animals on it, and it was a flood all over the earth. That's not what they're telling you. Right? So let me show you. Let me show you real quick. I want to show you my source. I want to give you source material. Alright? Watch this. Here we go. Okay. Millions of people each year visit the Smithsonian Institute, a leading research organization in Washington, D.C., with many museums, funded by U.S. tax dollars. Alright? The voluminous information in its exhibits, publications, and etc. is presented as authoritative. They're the authority, the Smithsonian, right? Now, the Smithsonian, sadly, is one of the greatest evolutionary propaganda machines in the world, but it has, as a part of its foundation today, that the Bible is not a historical document. The interesting thing is that it's the first 12 chapters of Genesis, the history that is foundational to the whole of Christianity, in particular, that the Smithsonian regards as not historical. Listen, if you were to write to the institution and ask about the historicity of the Bible and Noah's flood in particular, you will receive a letter that states, this is from the Smithsonian, this is in quotations, the Smithsonian's Department of Anthropology has received numerous inquiries in recent years regarding the historicity of the Bible in general, and the biblical account of Noah's flood in particular. The following statement has been prepared to answer these questions. Many people ask if the biblical flood account actually happened, actually took place, i.e., a flood which literally covered the entire earth and wiped out all living things except those which managed to board the ark. The occurrence of a flood story in both the Bible and the Epic of Gilgamesh, as well as in other folk traditions, does hint that there may have been enormous flooding of river valleys in far distant time. However, thus far, after literally hundreds of archaeological excavations at different times in the Near East, no all-encompassing flood stratum has ever been found. Okay? After literally hundreds of archaeological excavations at different times in the Near East, no all-encompassing flood stratum has ever been found. So, they did hundreds of archaeological excavations, which means they dug up the ground. They dug up the earth. They actually used a scientific process, was have a hypothesis, make an observation, and come to a conclusion. And their conclusion is it never happened. So it's not historical. Genesis is not historical. So what does history mean? Let's just get this straight out. What does history mean? Can somebody give me the definition of history? Don't worry. We're about to do it all together. We're going to learn together. History. Okay, let's go. Let's go. History is the study of past events, particularly in human affairs. Listen. The study of past events, particularly in human affairs. So if this is not a historical book and it's not history, they're saying that because it does not, is not, especially Genesis, it's not talking about human affairs. So what are they actually saying in the book of Genesis? Let's just crack it open real quick. Because my stance of what I'm saying is, it's science. It's science. But I'm going to show you a little bit better than I could tell you. You know what? Let me turn this other light on. Hold on 1 second. I'm all candlelit in this joint. You know, natural light is, you know, the best. So I like some candles, man. Alright, so let's get it popping. This is just the NIV version. You know what I'm saying? The Holy Bible. You saw it. So it's Sunday, so it'd be fitting to open up this Bible today, correct? Alright, so let's do it. And this is the issue. What's happened is, and share this video. Share it with your pastor. I'm cool with that. I won't use any profanity. You know, I won't insult anybody. We're just gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it basic. You know what I'm saying? Share this video with your pastor. I've been having a lot of my lives get blocked. Like they'll block them and not let me share the video after I put it up. So you can go ahead, feel free and share it. And this is the science that's in the Bible. See, and people want to say that the Bible is European creation. The Bible is not a European creation. I'm going to break that down too. The Bible man wrote it's only energy frequency. That I can agree with that. But what's the source? What's the source? We need the source. Can you give me the source? Let's look at this real quick. Before we open the Bible up, let's look at this real quick. I'm going to show you some source material. Okay. Can you tell me what's the oldest and most complete Bible on earth? What's the oldest and most complete Bible on earth? I'll give you a second. And no cheating, because I got some ringers in the room that already know this question. They already know the answer to this question. What's the oldest and most complete Bible on earth? It's not the King James. That's a hint. It's not the King James. Okay. We got some ringers in the room. The Ethiopian Bible is the oldest and most complete Bible on earth. See that? The Ethiopian Bible is the oldest and most complete Bible on earth. The Ethiopian Bible. That's right, Coptic. The Ethiopian Coptic Bible is the oldest and most complete Bible on earth. Ethiopian Bible is oldest and most complete Bible on earth. Complete with illustrations. So they got pictures in here of Jesus. Okay? The Ethiopian Bible. Now, Coptic, that's right. Coptic. Ethiopian Coptic. Watch this. What does Coptic mean? Oh no, Ethiopia is way older than Greece. Way older than Greeks. Now, what does Coptic mean? Coptic. The language of the Copts, which represents the final stage of ancient Egyptian. It now serves only as the liturgical language of the Coptic Church. Coptic means Egyptian. So these were Ethiopian Egyptians? Correct. Ethiopian Egyptian Christians? Correct. Christianity is an interpretation of Egyptian mythology. When we look into Egypt, they have mythology. Now, it's important that we know mythology doesn't mean it's false. That's not what myth means. This is what myth means. Myth is even more powerful. Look, watch this. A traditional story, especially one concerning the early history of a people or explaining some natural or social phenomena, and typically involving supernatural beings or events. Now, would you think the creation of everything is a supernatural event? Would you think the identity of the Almighty God, the source which everything comes from, would you consider that a supernatural event? It's not a human affair. It's a supernatural event. You need mythology. In that mythology, what they were able to do is create insignias, hieroglyphics. Those hieroglyphics hold levels of information. Levels of information. So anybody and everybody can understand it, loosely interpret it, right? Now, understand that what we just went was thousands of years in the past. Dealing with just the Bible. Just actually breaking down where the source of this information is from. The oldest and most complete Bible on earth is Ethiopian Coptic. And Coptic means Egyptian. No wonder why people will tell me that this resembles a cross. But don't you mean a cross resembles this? A cross really resembles this. This doesn't resemble a cross. So what does this mean? Somebody tell me, what is this? First off, tell me what is this? And then we'll open our Bibles back up. Tell me, what is this? What does this mean? What is this? What is this? What does it mean? And then we'll open this Bible up real quick. Let's see. Let's go in. Okay. So we got the Holy Bible. The New Living Translation. That's why I said the key of life. The Ankh. Here we go. What does Ankh mean? What does it mean? And you're going to say the key to life. The key of life. But what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Coptic cross. Yes, we got ringers in the room. We got ringers in the room. But you already know Coptic means Egyptian. Coptic is the last final translation of ancient Egyptian. You know, so to say it's a Coptic cross, you're really saying it's an Egyptian cross. You see what I'm saying? The woman's womb. Okay. Recreating life. Okay. Okay. We gotta go in. We gotta go in there. Because I see everybody's there. You're right. We're all right there. And that's what I like to see, for us to be together. Alright, that's good. That's good. But it's not quite there. We're about to get there though. Okay, so let's read some of our Bible. Shall we? And I write in my Bible, so. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was formless and empty, and darkness hovered over the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. All right, now let's deal with this right here real quick. Let's deal with this. Break this down for me. And when I want you to dissect this for me, don't go with what you believe. Don't give me a belief. Okay, listen. This is what's been keeping us in this state of arrested development, where we don't know anything, about physics, about quantum physics, about relativity, about the grand unified field, fractal geometry. We don't understand these things. And meanwhile, while we sitting back holding a bag of belief, the people who do understand this, they go off to rule the world. You know what I'm saying? Nas said it. While we playing PlayStation, they building space stations. You see what I'm saying? While we're playing PlayStation, they're building space stations. It's because we've been held in this state of arrested development. You know, we got a bunch of grown-ass teenagers out here. You know, the adults do the same thing that the teenagers do. They watch the same shows. They wear the same clothes. They have the same vocabulary. They're not talking about quantum physics and quantum entanglement and polymorphisms and nuclear DNA ascertainments. They're not talking about this. They're not talking about the grand unified field theorem. They're not talking about this. We've been relegated, held back to a state of arrested development, to where we're nothing but a bunch of big-ass teenagers. We listen to the same music these teenagers do. We wear the same clothes the teenagers got. We watch the same shows. We speak with the same vernacular. We don't even have a separation in language. You go to the store, they card everybody. They don't know who's the adult anymore. It's because we've been held back to lower vibrations, low interpretations. Now that we understand, that where this came from, the source of this material, is our ancient African ancestors who also spoke in parables through symbols. And those symbols encrypted, encoded deep science. What's the science behind it? If this book is telling you, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth was formless and empty, how can God have created the earth, anything, and it's be formless? How do you create something but it have no form? How can something be created but have no form? And on top of it having no form, it's empty. Now let me read it to you again, so we can make sure that your brother ain't slipping and I'm reading something wrong. Look. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Now explain it. They mentioned waters twice. Waters, waters. But where is the water? The water isn't on earth, because it's telling you that the earth was empty and formless. Not out of shape, not obtuse shaped, but without shape, without form. So the earth was without form and empty. So where are these waters? Where are the waters? And how can you create something but it be formless? Okay, Chosen is hitting on something. Chosen is hitting on something. Yeah, you're hitting on something, Chosen. Hitting on it. I don't know if you know how you got there, but you definitely hitting on something. And it like it's so heavy, like we could keep going, and it's gonna give us more. But what I want to show you real quick is we got to remember the source. We got to remember the source. So if the source of this information is that, as far as we can tell right now, is going back to ancient Kemet, is going back to Egypt, because the oldest and most complete Bible on earth is Ethiopian Coptic. It isn't Greek, no. It isn't Hebrew, no. The oldest and most complete Bible on earth is Ethiopian Coptic, and that Bible has about 81 to 88 books. Your King James only has 66 books. So we still don't have the complete version of this sign. We still don't have the complete version. This is not the complete one. In order to get that, we got to go Ethiopian Coptic. Matter of fact, I'm going to get one next week. I'm going to get one, and we're going to break that down. Excuse me. I'm going to look for the PDF, too. They might have the PDF. But what are they saying? What are they saying? And this also ties into this. This is why this was something that was used a lot. They used it a lot. They had it a lot. They had it on monuments. You know, they had it on their persons. They wore them just like I'm wearing them today. And this is why the cross was used to replace this. You see what I'm saying? The cross was used to replace this. Oh, no, we can get them all. Like Pokemon, we can get them all. You know what I'm saying? We just got to make sure we're going back to the source. So, it mentions the waters. Okay, if you give up, I'm going to give it to you. Atoms. And even in how this Bible is written, going from Genesis. Watch this. Watch this. Science will tell you Science will tell you, modern science will tell you, atoms are in everything. In order for something to have shape, it must have atoms. Atoms. The Bible will tell you that Adam named all of God's creations. So atoms are in everything in modern science, right? Modern science. And in the Holy Bible, it tells you that Adam named all of God's creations. Now, if we understand that this information is coming from our ancient African ancestors in ancient Egypt, in Kemet, they would have called it a tomb. They would have called it a tomb. Now, if we're talking about a tomb, right, we're talking about something called the Ogdode. The Ogdode. The Ogdode goes back at least 25,000 years. At least 25,000 years is the Ogdode. The Holy Bible, 1611. We're reading King James. Modern science, this is 25. They want to say the introduction of quantum physics was 1925. But this is what they're talking about in the Bible. If they're going before Adam, because atoms is what gives things their form. So if the earth was formless, the earth was subatomic, under atom or Adam. Before atoms exist, they're subatomic. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters. Now look, we know the source is Kemet. Now when they're talking about the waters, what are they talking about? What are they talking about? They're talking about the roaring water waves of Nun. Water was represented by Nun and Nunet. Nunet was the female form of Nun. Let's go. Here we go. Nun, the father of the gods, is Nun. And see, God is not the proper word. God is not the proper word. The proper word is Necher. Necher. That's why their language was Medu Necher. From Medu Necher, we get Mother Nature. You see what I'm saying? So everything come from the Nun. So Nun was considered to be the father of the gods. Now, what's more intriguing, right, is when we're talking about this is what we're talking about. The Ogdode. Let's go. The Ogdode. In Egyptian mythology, see? Mythology, which explains supernatural phenomena. That's what mythology is. Mythology doesn't mean it's a lie. No, that's not what mythology means. Mythology is traditional folklore that explains supernatural phenomena. The Ogdode are the 8 deities worshipped in Hermopolis. The gods, or the Netchers of the Ogdode were mostly seen as humans with their animal heads, or just depicted as snakes and frogs. And this is science. Listen, this is science. Listen, they were arranged in 4 male-female pairs, with the males associated with frogs and the females associated with snakes. Do you know why they was? All right, let me not get into the question part. So I'm going to show you. This is why we wear this. This is why this means life. The key to life. This is why. This is the science behind it. I'm giving you the science behind it. I'm not going into nothing feel good. We gonna be straight up scientific. Alright? So the Ogdode, this story of the Ogdode, you can find in the Shabaka stone from 710 BCE. Prior to the Shabaka stone, you can find it in the Memphite text. If you look up the Memphite text, it'll bring you to the Shabaka stone. Alright? So what they're saying is, in the beginning, everything and anything existed in the primordial waters of Nun. From the primordial waters of Nun rose Ta, or some will say Ptah, but the P is silent, like pneumonia. We don't say pneumonia. It's Ta. Ta. From Ta rose Atom, or Adam, or atoms, right? Watch this. And from Atom called forth 4 aspects of the Creator, right? 4 aspects of the Creator. And every male had a female. Hold up. Amen and Amunet. And every male has a female, because these are not literal people. These are aspects of the Creator. And for an aspect, it has to have a positive and a negative. Are you with me? It has to have a positive and a negative. That's male and female. The female receives, which makes it a negative. The male gives, which makes it a positive. That's male and female. You see what I'm saying? So the first 2 to come out was Amen and Amunet. Alright? Amen, Amunet. Then it was Nun and Nunet. Right? Then it was Ha and Hahet. Watch this. And then it was Kek and Kaket. Okay? Those 4 aspects. But they're represented by a positive and a negative. So this is 1. This is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, those 4. But look what they spell. Look. A, Amunet, N, Nun, and Nunet. How was Ankh? Ankh is KH, right? So it's Kuk and Kaket. Ha and Hahet. That's the Ankh. That's the Ankh. It's describing those first aspects that came from the Ogdode over 25,000 years ago. That's explaining quantum physics. You see? They're talking about this. Then they turned it into this. But if you look, this will be Nun, Nunet, Kaket, Amunet, Amun, Ha, and Hahet. It's still saying the same thing. It's still saying the same thing. It's how we interpret it. It's how we interpret it. It's still saying the same thing. It's still saying the same thing. You see that? So our Bible is indeed inspired by those ancient Africans. Any way you want to slice it, from the cross, deriving straight from the Ankh. I mean, you can see it. I can see it. I can't help but see it. Like, I see it every time I understand it, so I see it. You know what I'm saying? From our adornments, you see? But when we understand this, when we understand the science of it, now we get to take back our birthright as the natural leaders, as the teachers of humanity. So what does this mean? This is definitely 100% the key to life. And when somebody asks you to explain it, now you can articulate yourself responsibly, scientifically. You see what I'm saying? Gadgutically. You know what I mean? So they stole this stuff from us. This is why when they went into Egypt, they went into Africa, they ransacked everything, they vandalized everything, and used what they found there as the aggregate to build their societies, to build their church, to write their so-called King James Bible. Because our ancient African ancestors understood everything already. They understood the world. They understood how the world exists. They understood what existed before existence existed. That's what the Ogdod is. This is prior to people. This is not history. History requires people. This doesn't even qualify as history. This is above history. This is mythology and science. It cannot be explained historically. For us to do that is for us to take a low vibrational interpretation of what is going on. You see what I'm saying? This is why we've been held back. We've been in this state of arrested development. For over 2,500 years at least, we've been bamboozled by this. Like, how much longer will we, perpetuate this ignorance? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's about time we start flexing our intelligence, getting back to that first frequency. And we got to start doing that by stop abusing ourselves. We abuse ourselves when we damage our DNA. We abuse ourselves when we put ourselves through these, I don't even want to call them schools. They're just straight up, I don't even want to say what I'm thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because I want to keep this PG-13. I want you to be able to share this video with your pastor, with your deacon, with whoever. Because they don't understand science, so they don't see this. They don't even understand the ancient African history and heritage, so they don't see this. They're not going to read this and say, in the beginning God created heaven and the earth was formless and empty, and darkness hovered over the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the water. They're going to interpret that as literal. They're going to interpret that as literal. They're imagining some sky daddy that's going to be over the water, just chilling on top of some water that's on top of nothing, and the earth was formless. They're really going to go there because they have a limited arrested development. They are a child. They think on the level of a teenager. We're limiting ourselves so greatly, like it's crazy. So when we actually get into this science, we can actually, and what it's saying is even deeper. And I want to go there, but I just want to make sure y'all with me and we can move forward. But I want to make sure I get this point across right here, that even in this scripture, even in these books that we hold as sacred, there is sacred supreme mathematics in there, because Gaga is the grand unified field theory, Theorem, and Theorem means mathematical truth on top of truth. So there's actually more information just in this first chapter, just right here in this first chapter. Like, I ain't even get out the first damn chapter. I'm still right here in the first chapter, and I can still give us more. Like, we can still break it down more exactly what's going on here. Because when we understand the Ogdod and our ancestors, why they use the symbols that they use, like the males were illustrated as frogs, the females were illustrated as snakes, And then when you go further into the Bible, they mention how it was a serpent who tempted Eve in the garden. I don't want to give y'all too much, because this is like, we're gonna go off the beaten path. Let me get back to this. So the oak dode is what they're talking about. When they're talking about the waters, you never raised your hand and said, "Excuse me, Pastor, if the earth was formless, this means without form, and empty, where are these waters? Where are these waters?" You know, the waters, the roaring water waves of none, is the quantum field. In the quantum field is where everything and anything that can exist exists. This is the subatomic field. This is subatomic. Before anything has atoms, which is the building block, atom, Adam. So then they want to say Adam was the first man. We got people really arguing over Adam and Eve, and if Adam was the first. And these are African people who don't know their history. This is why they cut us off from our history. This is why they made it illegal for us to read. Even illegal for us to speak in our own native tongues, so that we wouldn't continue that oral tradition, you know, and sharing that mythology and telling these stories. You know, they tried their best to cut us off from that. But now in the age of information, the information age, what's your excuse? What's your excuse now? Like, really, what's your excuse? The distractions. We are held back by the distractions. We no longer need an oppressor. We no longer need chains. We no longer need locked gates. We've been indoctrinated and distracted so long that we do it to ourselves. We imprison ourselves. You know, much like I talked about earlier, Equiano, and how Equiano grew so comfortable with his enslavement. He forgot he was a damn slave. He forgot he was property. He forgot everything that had happened, that he had been kidnapped and held against his will and forced to work on a plantation, and now they're forcing him to work. He forgot all about that, and he just got so complacent with having the luxuries that he had been, you know, accustomed to having whilst on the ship, you know. So while we've been here, while we've been at this job, you know, while we've been having these luxuries that we see as luxuries, we've grown complacent with our enslavement. We don't even see that we're, you know, being manipulated. We manipulate ourselves. We don't even care. Like, it gets that deep. So, with having a higher vibration, a higher understanding, see, belief, there's nothing wrong with belief. Let me say that. There's nothing wrong with belief. But even the Bible says belief without works, like prayer without works, is pointless. It will do nothing for you. You know, so let's just say you drove your car, right? Let's just say you're sitting in your house right now. You drove your car to your house. Where is your car? You say, oh, my car is outside. But can you see your car? No. So you don't know your car's out there. You believe your car is where you left it at. But in reality, somebody could have stole your car, drove off down the street. So you don't know your car is there. You believe it's there. So believing is under knowing. You see, when you go and you see your car there, then you know it's there. But prior to that, you believed it was there. You see what I'm saying? This is the quantum realm where everything and anything is possible. This exists everywhere. Anything that we can imagine can happen, has happened, and either will or won't happen. All of these possibilities are available. That's why they say there's nothing new under the sun. You see what I'm saying? So, with us knowing that, we know that there's much more greater goals that we can get. There's much more higher peaks that we can reach. Anything that we can imagine can be obtained. But we got to remember this. That's why I wear it. This is why I wear it. not because it's trendy, not because, not just because this is my culture. No, because this represents the science. This represents the highest level of information from the greatest civilization of people that ever existed on the planet. The empires lasted for thousands of years, unharmed. That even today, when you go and dig up some mummies, they perfect. No cavities, no broken bones, no diseases. The first to write, the first to have paper, the first to make letters, the oldest medical documents, some of the most longest lasting monuments, first buildings ever constructed, the first stone buildings ever made were made in Africa. But they give us this image, this concept of sheds and mud huts. That wasn't. The first stone buildings were made in Africa. The Step Pyramid was made by Imhotep. The first pyramid, Imhotep made that. You see what I'm saying? So this type of level of information has to come through us. The Ogdod, the Waters of Nun, the Memphite text, this is over 25,000 years old. And it explains quantum physics. But yet, I'm going to show you who they accredit of founding quantum physics and when it came out. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. We don't understand that this is part of our history. This is our birthright. This is our birthright. Oh, man. My Wi-Fi cutting up on this phone. Hold on, let me see. Oh, man. All right, well, anyway. They accredit quantum physics to a couple of Europeans. About 3 or 4 of them in 1925. In 1925. Now we can see that this is a fraud. This is a fraud because we can see it in the King James Bible that came out in 1611, and we know prior to this being in the King James Bible in 1611, we found it in Shabaka stone in 710 BCE. Shabaka stone was a pharaoh, or an emperor, a ruler in ancient Kemet, and before Emperor Shabaka had it, it was in the Memphite text. The Memphite text from Narmer, from Menes, 3300 BCE. So they will fraud as long as we fall for it. They will tell you that the cross, Jesus died on the cross. That's what they'll tell you. That's what they'll tell you. And they'll keep up with that if you let them ride with it. If you subscribe to it, they're going to ride for it. They're going to go for it. And that's the common. You know how many people got crosses tattooed on them? You know how many people, black people too, like, come on now. When this is a direct infringement on our history. Directly. They Indiana Jones that shit. They stole it. They Tomb Raided that joint. Like in real life. In real life. This really happened. You know what I'm saying? Then they give us a watered down struggle history about our history and where we came from and what our heritage really is. You see what I'm saying? We're the teachers. We're the leaders of humanity. And we got to go back to that. The only way we get back to that, we got to let go of these distractions, man. And we got to adhere to the God order. To the God order. The reason why I understand this is because of the school of study that I've been subscribing to as of lately. I've only been dealing with high frequencies, with high level thought-provoking conversations. And there's a couple people who I could connect with. A couple people definitely in this room right now, you know what I'm saying, that I build with on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we got to do. Still sharp and still. We got to be careful of what we allow into our epigenetics, or what we allow into our circumference, or what we allow our subconscious mind to absorb, our eyes to see. You know, you shouldn't be watching Power. Or if you're going to watch Power, that's what, an hour long or a half hour long, however it is. You need to reinforce some education, some higher thought frequencies. You need about 3 hours of something deep. You know what I'm saying? You can't just soak that stuff into your mind and expect that something great is going to come out of you. Because now we got all these young girls walking around acting like Cookie because they done been watching Empire, you know, and acting like Hakeem. See, they understand the power of media. See, I was alive long enough. I remember TV just used to go off at night. I don't know who's in the room and who's old enough to remember this. TV used to just go off at night. Now, I can't even make this up. You be watching TV, it'd be the Late Show, then the $1 Million Movie, then the Late Movie, and then there'd be the Star Spangled Banner or the National Anthem, and then TV goes off. TV used to just go off. It was not the way it is today, because the power of media, they learned that this programs people, this programs us, and it gets into our subconscious because it's always running like a refrigerator. Your body never turns off. You'll see something you didn't even want to see, hear something you didn't even want to hear. Then you be walking around singing Britney Spears or something. You didn't even want to sing that. You didn't want to hear it, but you heard it, and it's soaked into your mind. It's going to take, it's going to play a part. It's going to make an influence on you. You see what I'm saying? So this is why they did a lot of things. Like they put their face on God. You know, they made all the images of Jesus, of God, white, European, Caucasian, to further disenfranchise us from this information, which is the higher vibration interpretation of what these books are saying, of what this is saying. Like, and it's a lot more. Now, this is just quantum physics. There's also astrology in the Bible. There's biology in the Bible. Yes. All of that is in here. And it has to be in here because we know that the oldest and most complete Bible on earth is Ethiopian Coptic. And we know that Coptic means Egyptian. Absolutely. I wish my Wi-Fi wasn't acting up. I wanted to show you some Ethiopian churches. Some of the oldest churches on earth are in Ethiopia, in Lalibela. I'm going to make some posts on that, and I'm going to show you some of the oldest churches, these Ethiopian churches, that they carved out of one single rock. One single rock carved the whole building in the shape of a cross inside the ground. The same technology that was used to make the pyramids made those churches. You can see it. Like, you can't even argue with it. Like, it's that deep. You know what I'm saying? So, understanding that this knowledge came through us, this knowledge has to come through us. Now, we're looking at it unscientifically, taking these things literal when it's not a literal. It's not a history book. Everybody knows this. Even modern science says this. Even government-funded establishments, natural history museums are saying this, and they report back to the government. They report back to the government because the government funds them. They have to give them a report. They have to submit everything so they can keep getting funded. The government knows this, but yet the government prints on the money, "In God We Trust," because they know that that's what you're programmed with. They know that that's what the populace, the population, the masses, dumb masses, the masses are dumb asses. They know this. So as long as you subscribe to it, they're going to promote that. As long as it's what you agree with, what keeps you docile, what keeps you in pocket, what keeps you from advancing humanity, what keeps you from advancing your situation, what keeps you from being the alchemist that we used to be, what keeps us from being the most intelligent, greatest civilization of people, whatever keeps us complacent in our enslavement, much like Equiano, they'll give it to us. They'll keep going with it. As long as we go with it, they'll go with it. You know what I'm saying? But you don't see them behaving this way. You know? Even when we go back to our enslavement, they would have church service. Then after the service, they would go outside and hang us and torture black people, murder black people. That's what they did. You see what I'm saying? So clearly, God is different to us than it is to them. Clearly, these are people who should be following, not leading. Our Gagutical Constitution makes us the leaders. There's no other way there can be anybody. You see what I'm saying? So look, my melatonin is kicking in. I'm not sure what time it is, but it got to be near 12 o'clock because I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it coming in. You know what I'm saying? So we could definitely build some more about this. If anybody got any questions, definitely send me a message. You want to get connected with the OFABIT Institute, Ground Zero for Intelligence of the Universe, Professor Gabriel Oyibo, the greatest mathematician on earth, and the founder of the God Almighty Grand Unified Theorem. Just send me a message. You can send me your phone number. We could call you on three-way on a conference call, and we could get you plugged in with the Ground Zero for Intelligence of the Universe, the ultimate university in the universe, the OFABIT Institute. All right? Now look, this is your brother, and I love you because I love myself. Peace.